Hi, in this video, we're going to use a find section to return data from the target system that we can use to inform how we map data from our source system. So let's look at this now. We go into our mapping for our connection, and we see in this example, we've got a contact, which is a standard object in Salesforce. We've got a survey response, which is actually a custom object to store data from a survey. And we've got contact again. Now let's walk through what we're doing here. In our target system, in our contact record, we record a relationship status. That's a custom field, and we record whether that relationship status is a passive, a detractor, or a promoter. When we pass in new survey data, we want to populate another custom field on the contact record that tells us whether the trend has moved upward or downward. We can use the data from relationship status pulled from the contact in our target system to inform the mapping and tell us how we're going to apply the value to say whether the trend has improved or got worse. Let's look at the mapping in detail. So here we say we're finding an existing contact record in our target system, and we're using the email to find that record. Then using the field mapping, we're returning specific fields from the contact in the target system, remember. We're returning relationship strength and relationship type. You can return any of the fields in the contact simply by pressing the plus button and choosing which fields you want to return. You can do this for any standard or custom object. In this example, I'm going to be using the relationship strength. Then we move on to our survey response, where we're simply creating a new record. In here, we've got the typical references to join that object to the contact, and we've got the score and survey feedback here. We're also transforming the NPS response values here, but importantly, to allow us to do what we need to do, we've got a variable set up here that translates the NPS survey response to either promoter, passive, or detractor. Now, it's important to do this as a variable so that we can use that in certain areas in our mapping. Let's come back to our mapping here. So after we found the contact and returned the relationship strength, and CONVAYR then knows about that, we're then going to create our survey response. Then subsequently, we're going to go back to the contact and we're going to update an existing record. Our reference for this here is the first section in our mapping, where contact ID of the target equals the contact ID of the contact we found in section 1. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to map a value to the field in the target called advocacy trend. And that field has 4 values. What we're going to do is conditionally use the information we found in section 1 to pass a fixed value into that pick list. So the first field mapping here to advocacy trend has an expression of pick list, and the value is much better. So these are the values that you would find in our pick list in our target system. So what we've done is mapped to this field 4 times here, and we've got the pick list values much better, better, worse, and much worse. And then over here on the right, we can set our conditional criteria for when we want to pass that particular value into the contact. So if we look at the first one here, we're using a source field value of relationship strength, and that's what we're taking from our section 1 here when we returned this particular field. And if that equals a detractor, and then the value from the relationship strength that we're mapping from our survey data equals promoter, we can see here that there's an increase from detractor to promoter. Now that's much better because we've gone straight from detractor to promoter and missed out passive entirely. So we want to select the value of much better in our expression. If we look at the next one here, where we're passing the value better into the pick list, we're setting the criteria here as the relationship strength as it was originally when we found the contact record in our mapping from the target system is detractor, and it's moved to passive in our subsequent section, which is going to be creating the custom object from our survey data. So we've gone from detractor to passive, or we've moved from passive to promoter. That's where we're going to send the value better, and so on and so forth for the value worse. Again, our criteria here, using both the values that we've returned from our initial find and the value in our data that we're mapping over. And much worse, again, if we've gone from promoter in the original data that was set for the contact record in our target system, and the value coming over from our new survey data is detractor, then we're going to set it to much worse. So in this way, you can see it's just an example here of how you can go and find information from the target and use that to inform what you do in your mapping. In this way, Conveyor can give you some really, really granular control and power over your mapping. That's it for this session. If you've got any questions, or you've got any use cases that you want to ask us about, please let us know. Thank you.